Hi, I'm Sandy from Pine Tree Country Quilts. I'm going to do a short little video on one of our new and upcoming patterns. It's called Frond Nouveau1. It is a 97 by 97 queen size quilt. The fabric is from QT Fabrics, and the name of the collection is also called Frond Nouveau1. Our patterns are going to come all packaged, and you'll have your colors, your quilt on the top, and you'll have your yardage on the back of what you'll need to make the quilt. The pattern also comes complete with your full set of cutting instructions and diagrams and everything you'll need to easily put your quilt together. There are a couple of things that I would like to emphasize before we get started. One thing, when you are cutting, we are going to have you label your pieces, which is really important in this quilt because you are going to have different colors put together at different times, making four patches and things like that. So if you're all labeled, you know, you can just pick up those and away you can go with them. Also, your 1/4 inch is very important. What I like to do is I cut two 2.5 inch squares, and then I stitch them with my 1/4 inch seam allowance. And when you press that and you open them up, that should measure 4.5 inches. If you're coming out too large, that means that your 1/4 inch is too small. And if it's coming out too small, your 1/4 inch is too big. So then you can make your adjustments before you start working on your project, and you would be all set to go. So in this video, we will be showing you some helpful hints in different sections so that it will make it easier for you when you go and make your quilt and putting it all together. So the first thing that we're going to be talking about is using your panel squares. So this is the panel square that you're going to need. You're going to be using 8 of them. So what I did is I rough cut them out, and I just went kind of halfway in between all of the brown, because the square is plenty big enough for what we need for this section. So this is after I rough cut it out. So then I took it to the ironing board and I pressed, and I used a light coating of spray starch just to help stabilize things a little bit. And these were printed really well. I didn't have any issues with it being skewed or so that it actually worked out quite well. So where we need such a large square for this quilt, most people don't have a large square to square it up. So what we do is we fold it in half, and I just try to match this as best I can. You can put a pin in there, and you know, so that it's perfectly matched. But again, there was enough in this panel so that I didn't have to worry about that section. So then I take the size that we give you in the pattern, divide it by 2, and we're going to cut this on that measurement. So I just want to double check and make sure I got it on the right. And then I'm going to cut across here. So then I'm going to fold it the other way. And again, I would, you know, try to match those up best I can. Press it all down. I double check just to make sure. Again, we'll go half of the measurement. And we will cut this like so. So now you have your square the size that you need it to be for your blocks. Then we'll be taking some framing pieces, and those will go on the 2 sides and then on the top and the bottom. and you'll have your finished panel block. And again, you'll be making 8 of these for this quilt. So in the next section, we're going to be making strip sets. And basically, you're going to be taking 2 of your strips, sewing them with your 1/4 inch, and then pressing them open. So with this, in the pattern, we're going to have arrows telling you which way you need to press each strip set. And then you will also want to label your strip set so you know which one you're going to need for which 4 patch, because you are going to have, I think there's 4 or 5 different combinations of fabrics for your strip sets. So then you will cut your segments, and we'll tell you like of each one how many you will need. And with this, we on the pressing, so that your seams opposite, and those are gonna not, you know, snug right in together. And then I like to pin, and then I sew them, and then you'll press them open, and then you've got your 4 patch. And again, once you make your 4 patches, they become a different label, so you will want to label that pile so that you'll have them to label to put your blocks and do your sashing strips together. So in the next step, we're going to be putting the rows together to make our blocks. Basically, your rows will consist of squares, your 4 different 4 patches, rectangles, and you'll be making 4 different rows to make a block. Again, we've had you press, so all your seams are going to be opposite, so when you put them together, it will snug in just like it did on your 4 patch. And after you get your 4 rows together, this will make your block, and you'll be making 8 of these blocks for this quilt. So in the next step, we're going to be making our flying geese and sashing units. So we've done the panel blocks and we've done the piece blocks. So with this one here, we are making a flying geese unit. So you will start with a rectangle, and you'll have squares, and it will tell you in the instructions to mark it from corner to corner. You stitch on the line that you marked. You'll trim a 1/4 inch out, and then you'll press this open, and then you will put on another square, again stitch on your line, trim, and press open, and then you have your flying geese unit. So there are 6 different sashing units that you're going to need throughout this quilt, and it basically will be squares, 4 patches, some rectangles, and each one is a little bit different, and a flying geese unit will go on the end of each one of the strips. And then once those are all made, you also want to make sure that you label each strip, because like I said, there are 6 different ones, so you get them in the right spot. In the quilt pattern, we'll have an exploded diagram labeling each section so you know which one to put where. And then once those are all done, we'll start assembling the quilt. So once you've completed all your blocks, you're going to be just putting your rows together, and each row is going to consist of a panel block, a piece block. So you're going to have 2 piece blocks, 2 panel blocks, and 3 sashing sections. So in the pattern, we'll have an exploded diagram. We'll have all the pieces labeled, so you'll know which ones will go where. So you'll sew your 4 rows together. You make 3 sashing rows, sew that together and put on your borders, and then your quilt is going to be ready to be quilted. So now we've completed our quilt top. It's 95 inches square. We're ready to put it on while it's on the machine and get it quilted. So what I've decided to do is I'm going to use an all-over leaf pattern, and I chose gold thread for the quilting. So now that we've finished our Frond Nouveau quilt, we have it all quilted and bound, and the way I do my binding is I machine stitch it on the top and I hand stitch it on the back, and you can see in more detail the leaf fabric pattern that we used with the gold thread. And finally, I'd like to thank QT Fabrics for working with us over the years and making beautiful collections. And I hope you enjoy making your Frond Nouveau quilt.